Okay, and we are live. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Crypto Hour. Today is Friday, the 19th of September. And sorry if I'm a couple of minutes late, the other call overrun a little bit. So let's get into it straight away. So there's quite a lot to talk about this week. So from last week, we discussed that the most important announcement of the week was the U.S. interest rate announcement, and we had that as expected. The U.S. cut interest rates by 0.25%. So let's go and start have a looking at the economic calendar. Okay, so can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good. So as you can see, there went an awful lot of announcements this week. So Canadian CPI kind of still very low, trending down now. Is actually negative this month, but that's gone down to kept to about 3.1% on a yearly basis. Retail sales in the US a little bit higher than expected, and then and then the two announcements on the same day. Canada kept interest rates, lowered interest rates from 2.75 to 2.5% as expected. So let me just update this. And here we have the US also that lowered interest rate from 4.5% to 4.25%. Okay, now if you can see here on the left-hand side, the US is still the country of the industrialized countries with the highest interest rate at 4.25 even after the cut, followed by the UK pounds, Australia, New Zealand, and so on. Okay, as you can see now, Canada and Europe and the euro have gone now below 3%. So it's been, this wave of cuts has started quite a few months ago, but the US has only joined in now, and this is why what we found out why they are doing it is the first time that they have, cut interest rates with the inflation still not under control. Okay, so remind you that the inflation target is 2%. At the moment, we are still at 2.9% inflation rate. So obviously, cutting interest rates has generally an effect on inflation by making it rise. But the reason why they are doing it now is because the job market is deteriorating, and so there is the unemployment rate is going up. People are finding it very difficult to find a job. So they have come almost like the dual mandate of the Fed is to keep inflation under control, but also keep the job market working well. So, and that part of it is the one that's pushed these interest rate cuts and expectations.
15.
Guys, can you please mute your?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. So this is what's pushed these interest rate cut, and it's the first time for over 20 years that has happened as a main reason of an interest cut. I mean, of cutting interest is the job market and not inflation. Yesterday we also have the UK, so we have Canada, the US, the UK. Yesterday they kept interest rates at 4%. And today we're going to have so already had actually we already had also the Japanese yen. They kept the interest rate at 0.5%. Okay, now what is the expectation? So what is the expectation for the? Let me just go back into move back into some of the. So these are the Fed numbers and kind of their projections, and you can see the two. You have the previous projection was in June, and the actual one is the one that's quoted just below. Okay, so in terms of unemployment rate, so it was projected to be a 4.5% for 2025 and 26, and then going down to 2027, go down slightly. Now with this interest rate cut, the new projection is that the unemployment rate will go down a little bit earlier to 4.4%. Not a massive change, but as a price to pay for that, you can see the expected inflation next year. It won't be 2.4%, it'll be 2.6%. Okay, so they know exactly that what they're doing is going to influence the the inflation and also the projected of the federal funds rate has changed quite a lot. So even this year, expected to go. So the expectation before was to go to 3.9%. Okay, now is 3.6%. So that would imply 2 cuts in interest rates still to come in 2025. And I remember that we have two meetings to go before the end of the year. So it means that at each one of the meetings, there's going to be another interest rate cut, either by 1/4 or 0.5%. And then again for 2026, before it's gone down from 3.6 to 3.4. And again, 2027 from 3.4 to 3.1. Okay, so this is the Fed's. These are the Fed's number. Okay, with expectations that they're going to be able to hold interest rate for the long run at 3%, which has never happened in the past. Okay, so they're assuming that the American economy can work at a higher interest rate than it has ever done before. But when you look at the market data, so this is the probability, this is like a FedWatch tool. Okay, so the conditional probabilities at each of the monetary policy committee meetings. So the expectations for a year from now, the interest rates are going to be 3%. And when you look at it, even by the end of 2026, the market has already priced in interest rates are below 3%. Okay, so they don't believe the Fed. They think they're going to have to cut faster and deeper than what they've announced. And as we can see, if they already have changed so quickly, there's like a 0.2% change is quite big in a way, and like the difference in 0.3%, so it's more than 1 cut in only 3 months. So what has changed during these 3 months to change their mind? Where before they were controlling inflation and now they're happy to let inflation go a little bit, is actually the job market. Okay, so I think they are worried that we are going into what is called a situation of stagflation, so stagnating economy and inflation at the same time. Okay, and this is a proper possibility in the market. So looking at going into crypto and looking at some of the things that have been happening first of all, let's go and see what effects this kind of announcement has made on different markets. Okay, so let's just forget about crypto for a second. So let's have a look at the S&P 500. Okay, so you can see very well the moment of the announcement. At 7 o'clock. This is a UK time. Okay, so you can see the S&P 500 actually dropping just about 100 points and then recovering very quickly. And since then, it has actually grown to, let's say, go into a daily chart. It's actually made a new high. Kind of new excitement is coming to the market. We're thinking that they are actually loosening the purse in a way, starting printing money again, which is potentially what is happening right now. And if we have a look at what's happening into the bond market, so these is kind of like the long-term bonds. We can see that the bond market hasn't taken this to let me see. Let me just go to the same. Go to slightly smaller interest rate. So you can see the price of bonds is actually gone the other way. Okay, so although it pushed up slightly to begin with, then it's actually, open down yesterday. Okay, and when the price goes down, it means the yield goes up. So even if there's been a cut on interest rates, the market considers that an elevated risk. Okay, so this is why kind of the bond prices have actually reacted negatively to um, to the announcement rather than positively. And we have a look instead at so we have a look at S&P. The Nasdaq as well is, it has made a new high again. So this is from Wednesday, the moment of the announcement is moved. And so all the markets pretty much are at an all-time high. So this is, Dow Jones, same thing. Russell 2000, which is, I remind you, so this is probably the one that's been the lowest performing of all the markets. But even the Russell 2000 is making just about a new all-time high. So it's taken a long time for. So this is more of an indication of how the American economy is doing, because these are all like small and medium companies. Okay, if you look at the S&P 500, the Nasdaq is really dominated by the Magnificent Seven, which we couldn't really describe as American companies. They are multinational companies operating all over the world, and their income comes from all over the world. Where in the Russell 2000, they are mainly American, the American bread and butter companies, and they just about move above the 2021 level. So this has been taken by stock market quite positively because literally, I mean, this is what we're all expecting, is that there's going to be a new wave of money printing that could bring fresh fuel to the fire of all risk assets. Now, for going to Bitcoin. So, no, I have another chart. I think is better than that. Okay, so this is the same announcement for doing the Bitcoin. As you can see, still of 7 o'clock. So that's the time of the announcement. Price dropped down first and then started going back up, and now is pushing towards. There is he also kind of reacting slightly to this area of supply, but literally, I don't think there's anything serious here to stop Bitcoin making a new high over the next couple of weeks. Now, in the Bitcoin reaction to the market has been more muted than stocks and shares, but still, if you think about where he was before, we're still at a 2% increase, and we're sitting now at 1.3%. Okay, since out. So there's still been a kind of a positive reaction to the news, but there are also other things that the crypto market is looking at, and there are some big news as well just being announced this week. The biggest one is being in terms of ETFs. Where is it? Sorry. I can't remember where I put everything. There we are. Sorry. So the SEC has introduced new standards that will make it a lot easier to approve new ETFs. Okay, so as you know, since 2021, there has been lots of listing that have been continually denied so there have been some filings that have been continually denied listing from the SEC. Now they've introduced what they are called like generic generic path for approval. And the main criteria for approval is that they have been quoted in a regulated futures exchange for at least 6 months. They've been traded on a futures exchange for 6 months. So there are about 15 coins that are already fulfilled those criteria. And even in the last couple of days, there is one new ETF that was approved according to these new rules. So let me see if I can find it. It is a fund more than a single ETF in a single company. So it's a fund that includes Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and Cardano. Okay, so that has already been approved and started trading. But these are basically the conditions. So this James Seifert, I don't know if you've followed it or not, is one of the Bloomberg analysts that covers ETFs. And obviously they're very interested in crypto ETFs because they've been the most successful ever, in ETFs history. So basically, if the asset has a futures contract traded on a regulated exchange, like Coinbase, the derivative exchange, for 6 months, it will be allowed to become a spot ETF. Okay, so these are the list of products, with the futures on Coinbase. So obviously, Bitcoin and Ethereum already have ETFs. We got Solana, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Dogecoin, Polkadot, Shiba Inu, Avalanche, Chainlink, Stellar, Hedera, Hashgraph, Cardano, and XRP. Okay, so so in terms of spot ETFs, at the moment we only got Bitcoin and Ethereum. In terms of futures ETF, we also, at the moment, you already have Solana and XRP. They are trading. Okay, but these are futures. They're not spot ETFs. So the biggest effect on price comes from the spot ETFs. So in the near future, we can see the filings. So some of these haven't had filings yet. Okay, but we can see. So this was in June. So I'm not quite sure if now these have. I know the Chainlink also has been filed too. But these are the ones that will be approved sooner than others. But if these are easy approvals now, then you can guarantee that this will be followed by another 15 or 20 very, very shortly. So we may be in a condition that in a few weeks' time, a lot of these are investable from an institutional point of view, because they will be quoted they will be quoted on a recognized and regulated exchange. So actually, this is the new, I think, up-to-date list. I think it's pretty much the same thing. So XRP, Cardano, Hedera, Solana, Stellar, Chainlink. Yeah, and the size of the contracts. But so let's go out of this. So you can see here the Coinbase contract side. Here how many coins you have to buy or sell at any one time. Some products have got both the full size and the nano contract. So you can see Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and XRP. Some other have just got one size. Okay, so this is the thing. So we're talking about kind of like expert advisors like him and like another one. It's this one, Eric Balchunas, as well. That this is big news. Okay, the SEC has approved generic listing standards for commodity-based trust shares, also known as include crypto exchange traded products. Okay, this is the crypto ETP framework we've been waiting for. Get ready for a wave of spot crypto ETPs launches in coming weeks and months. Okay, so what effect could this have on the market? Again, I would say it's not obviously, there is lots of interest now. We've seen that both the Bitcoin and the Ethereum ETFs have been the most successful ETFs ever, bar none, including, so they've been better than the gold ETF, better than the S&P 500. So as launches, they've been unheard of in the past. So obviously, with that kind of interest, there will be interest as well in the other products that are going to be launched. Okay, so Solana, XRP, Cardano, and so on. So we'll bring extra volume into this product. Where could they have the most effect is in the crypto kind of like, this has been kind of the total crypto market cap has already reached $4 trillion. Okay, I remember that at the top of the 2021 market, it was like 3 trillion. Okay, in 2021, literally went from 340 billion in October 2020 to 3 trillion in November 2021. So in 1 year, they went 10x. So this is the total crypto market, not just Bitcoin, not just anything in particular. The total crypto market went up 10 times. So what do we have so far? This year, let's say, if you say we can even go since the ETFs were launched, January 2024, that was like 1.8 trillion. Okay, so pretty much I say it's doubled. You doubled so far. I think there's still a long way to go. There's still a long way to go in this market. But if we look at the market, really, that will be more affected with this is like the altcoin market. So this is, sorry, take this. This we are looking at the total market cap for all other coins excluding the top 10. That's why it's called others. And as you can see, we're still kind of low down compared to 2021. We're still about a 50% down on that number. So this is the kind of market I'm looking at that could, at the very least, treble from here in a very short period of time. So you see what happened in 2021 when it went from 36 billion to 500 billion. Okay, now then it went all the way back down to 70. Now you can see how quickly things can happen. So when there is some excitement in the market, like in November last year, okay, in 1 month, again, it went from 191 to 450. Again, more than doubling in a very short period of time. So at the moment, that has still not happened, but what we are seeing now has been we started turning around. Okay, so this is, sorry, let me just do that. This is the Bitcoin dominance chart. Okay, what does it tell you? It tells you what percentage of the total market cap is represented by Bitcoin. So in the last cycle, it went all the way up to 73%. Now the market is a bit more mature, so it went up to about 66%. And now it started turning around. For me, the first important point I was watching, it was when it went below 62%, because that means that this uptrend has actually stopped and started reversing. So we've been interrupting the uptrend, and now it's kind of like it's moving lower. You can see what happened last time. Okay, from December 2020 to May 2021, the Bitcoin dominance went all the way down from 73% to 40. Okay, and we are starting the same process now. And guys, I remind you that during this time, Bitcoin was thriving. It's not that Bitcoin's price was falling. Bitcoin price went up from about 18,000 to about 70. It just means that any other coin went up a lot more than Bitcoin. And this is the process I think that we are at the beginning of right now. Because what happens is that once Bitcoin starts struggling to actually grow quickly, a lot of crypto investors get bored and put their money somewhere else. The meme that you see often on social media with somebody with a stick prodding Bitcoin and saying, "Come on, do something." And it's that kind of thing. They're sort of impatient. They're sort of, okay, let's go and find income or yield somewhere else. Okay, so this process has now started, and there are kind of like a few things as well to note too. So this is Michigan, one of the 50 states in the US has actually pushed ahead with trying to approve the crypto reserve bill to establish a crypto reserve bill with Michigan funds. And it wouldn't be limited to Bitcoin, but it would be open to other digital assets. So as you can see now, at the moment, there's only about Michigan, Massachusetts, and Ohio with these crypto reserve bills that have made it to the committee stage. And at this stage, only New Hampshire, Arizona, and Texas have enacted legislation that enables state treasurers to invest in Bitcoin and crypto assets. Okay, in other countries, these bills are being rejected so far. It doesn't mean that it cannot be represented, it cannot be approved in the future. As always with anything, there are like the pioneers, then there is the kind of like slow adopters that come in later. So at the moment, there is already a framework for some states. They're already doing that. But the more of these things become public, the more they're discussed, the more normalized it becomes, then the more crypto gets accepted and funds flow into the crypto world. Wherever they go, we can see in the total market cap numbers that is growing steadily. So the reason why crypto is starting to be interesting to a larger number of people is because of things like that. So Vietnam actually closed 86 million bank accounts because they have a new legislation that you have to have biometrics, to have a bank account. Now, I understand that in that way you can catch, security and you can sell it however you like. But I think that having access to your money is kind of like a fundamental human right. I'm not quite sure that the state should get involved should get involved in managing the bank account. So this is very worrying as well, and it's one of the reasons to have control. So with crypto, you get that control. So it's not just about making money, but it's also having control of your funds, so nobody else can muck around with them. Okay, so let me go. Now, a couple of worrying sites, worrying kind of like news is that for the future. First of all, Nvidia and China has banned the use of Nvidia chips on for Chinese users, and China is the biggest worldwide buyer of Nvidia chips. So that could affect the price on Nvidia unless they can find alternative markets that absorb that kind of volume, which will be quite a challenge. It could also affect the other tech companies. So it is one of the things that I keep hearing on different forums is that it is likely that there's going to be a slowdown of the technology valuation of American companies, the Magnificent Sevens, but a lot of the growth will come from like the bread and butter companies that mostly operate in the US. So the kind of companies that are represented in the Russell 2000, for example. But it is something that is worrying because it can affect. Nvidia is the number one company on Nasdaq and S&P 500, so it would affect also the results of in general on the indices. And the other thing that we also have to worry for is that is the date of November the 5th, because that if you listen to the news, there has been a challenge to a lot of Trump's tariffs that have been deemed illegal. So, and it's a matter, like, it's more important than thinking of what's going to happen to Trump's tariffs. It's about the rule of law. So it goes a lot deeper than that. We're thinking, so the lower court ruled that Trump went beyond his authority by using emergency powers to impose tariff. Okay, so but as a result, if that is confirmed by the US court, that decision could affect billions in terms of tariff revenue, consumer prices, global markets. So in a way, the markets don't like uncertainty. So there is going to be some caution before this is heard. And also, at the moment, we are in a situation where the banks are rebuilding the balance sheets. So at the moment, they haven't, although the interest rates are starting to come down, the banks are not coming forward really making it easy for people to get loans, mortgages, things like this. And that is the way the money gets created. Okay, so at the banks, they actually create the money, new money that comes into the economy. Okay, now more positive news. So most of us, they have they've done things on a blockchain, will have a MetaMask account. Now, there has been, rumors of MetaMask launching its own token for the past year and a half, 2 years at the very least. So apparently, the Joe Lubin, which is the CEO of ConsenSys, the company behind MetaMask, and also, by the way, for those of you that don't know him, Joe Lubin was one of the original founders of Ethereum. So it could be apparently the Mask token, it will be called probably, could offer rewards, governance rights, and deeper wallet utility for users. But anyway, it would be a huge, airdrop, because a huge number of people own MetaMask wallets. So we will see. If it launches now, the snapshot may already have been taken, but just in case, it wouldn't hurt if you haven't got a MetaMask account already to open one and then maybe put a few dollars in it just to make sure that you're included in the airdrop if and when that happens. So there are over 10 million MetaMask wallets around. Okay, and currently supports 11 blockchains. I think that's a lot. It's a lot higher than that, actually. This is incorrect. So it supports a lot more than 11 blockchains. Even web traffic shows its dominance with 5.64 million visits to MetaMask.io in August 2025 alone. Okay, from US, India, Germany, Canada, and Australia mostly. Okay, so that could be another big, we talked about, the Cardano, the midnight airdrop for the past few weeks. This could be another big airdrop that could come our way. So it's not bad. Other big news that would affect the crypto market, it's the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act. Okay, has been discussed this week, and I know that. So in this article, they talk about the Coinbase CEO, but a lot of the big players have been in Washington, D.C. this week to discuss something around this Digital Asset Market Clarity Act with various commissions. Okay, so what it would do, it will clarify the roles of the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission, and the Commodity Futures and Trading Commission, and other financial agencies, so that they know exactly who's responsible to what. So far, the Security and Exchange Commission has taken charge of the crypto oversight, but it is widely expected that this will be passed to the CFTC, okay, which will make more sense, and will be a recognition that, in effect, many of the crypto products that are in the market are actually commodities. So this is why the commodity futures trading commission will be the one that's more likely to get the job to look after crypto. So this is led what the Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, says. I think this has a good chance of getting done. It means of being passed into law. I've actually never been more bullish on the market structure bill getting passed. It's a freight train leaving the station. Okay, so if you think as a catalyst that can, push the next wave of crypto adoption, this could be a big one, because probably it's the last tile that needs to fall into place before the big seven start getting interested in crypto. So they all got everything ready. So you don't think the Apple or Google or Amazon and so on, Microsoft, don't have a crypto wallet ready, to be attached to their products. Every time you download Chrome, there's probably going to be a crypto wallet already there, like there is for Brave, or anytime you get a new version of Windows, it's probably going to have a crypto wallet there as part of built in, like Edge is the browser, whenever you install it. So a big thing. Tony, also there is, the Bitcoin reserve bill is also gaining momentum. So, and this is especially like with Michael Saylor and describing how the Congress can move forward. But there is there's a higher probability now that this will come into existing at some stage. Whether it's a Bitcoin reserve bill or a digital asset reserve bill, we'll see. We'll see what, the devil is in the details. But the fact that there is, if there is a reserve bill, including even just Bitcoin, it would be a huge positive move for the whole crypto sector. A couple of smaller things. Again, just to show you how things are moving fast. So this is actually a South Korean custodian entity that has launched a stablecoin in the won, the Korean currency. So how that can be relevant? Just think about at the moment, there's over $5 trillion being exchanged each day on foreign exchange deals in between banks, between brokers. Now think about doing the same things but bypassing the banking system altogether, without restrictions, being able to move billions at a fraction of a second with really minimal cost. And remember, with crypto, normally you pay per transaction. You don't pay as an interest rate on the level of your transaction. The transaction fee would be the same if you move, $100 worth of Bitcoin or 100 billion. It wouldn't change the transaction fee. It's still like one transaction. And this is being launched on Avalanche. So it's kind of big news for Avalanche as well, because it will mean there's a lot more traffic coming to Avalanche. For you guys in Australia, there's also some good news. So this is the Australian Securities and Investment Commission has simplified, the rules behind stablecoins. So it will make easier to transact in stablecoins for the companies they are licensed. So that will mean maybe, so we'll see what happens, maybe too, that process that you've been struggling with in moving funds from your bank to your crypto exchange becoming a lot easier, because that will involve then, buying some stable coins, moving them from place to place. So that process will become a lot easier. And in it must be said that with all the problems that you had in Australia, this is taking the lead, in the whole world. So it could be, almost like the blueprint that is then adopted by other countries as well. So there's a lot of this going on at the moment. Okay, last before we close these, so I remind you that this is also, an important. It's not news because it's from the beginning of August, but it's something that takes time to trickle over. Okay, so now it's possible for crypto and private equity in your 401 retirement plan. So similar to your super in Australia. And then so what does that mean is that, now it is possible. So then it takes time for advisors to get educated into it and to start recommending it with, to their customers. And so there's going to be an army of tens of thousands of advisors that now can recommend people crypto as well as part of their retirement plan. Okay, so again, all things that not one thing in isolation can say that's the news that will cause A to happen or B to happen, but definitely is all we can see how we are slowly moving in the direction of the digital economy, digital world, and this is going to be powered by crypto. So a couple of things. Just have a look at the latest news in the ETF world. So this is the Bitcoin ETF. So we had a couple of days with outflows yesterday, which was the first full trading day after the interest rate cut. Is 213 million actually flew back into the ETFs. So we've had, so this is Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and Monday. So the week at the moment, although we had a couple of red days, the green days are much, superior by a lot. So we got 360, 370, 570 minus 60. So about 300 at the moment, 300 millions coming into the Bitcoin ETF. Sorry, the Ethereum. So this is the Ethereum ETF, which stands at almost 14 billion right now since inception. And Bitcoin, look at the same thing for Bitcoin, similar thing. So for Bitcoin, even better. We only had, let's see, so these are the 4 days we had. This is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we had a small outflow on Wednesday, which is normal before an important announcement, and then again, new funds coming in. So this week we got about, let's say 500 million, about 650 million coming into the Bitcoin, the Bitcoin ETFs. Can you see why the excitement into all other ETFs that can be launched? Now, I'm not saying that they're going to be as big as the Bitcoin ETF, but it's going to be significant because a inflow of, I'm not saying 14 billion like Ethereum or 57 billion by like Bitcoin, but even an inflow of 1 billion into one of the smaller projects when the total market cap at the moment may be maybe 15 or 20 billion can have a big effect on price. Okay, and this is the visual representation of the different Bitcoin ETFs, and you can see the BlackRock is dominating. So the three main ones are BlackRock, Fidelity, and Grayscale. Okay, so Grayscale was the largest to begin with, but then probably because of part of the deal that they cut was that they kept their fees at a level that were like 4 or 5 times higher than anybody else. So eventually funds flew out of this and went into the other funds. So it started about 625,000 Bitcoin. Now they got like less than a third of that. But anyway, those are the three big ones. And if you sum them up together, so 964, this is more than 1 billion, more than 1 million Bitcoins. So that's well over. So when you sum them up, we've gone well over 5% now. Okay, there are 20 million Bitcoin in circulation. So every million, it's 5% of the supply. And remember, so this is one reason why this pushes the price up, because all the funds that have been have been deposited in these, have got very low elasticity. So people don't buy into these funds because they want to buy and sell Bitcoin on a daily basis. They're not day trading these funds, but they are more like for the long term. So it shows you that there have been like 1 million Bitcoin has been basically taken out from circulation, because if they are here, they're not on Coinbase, they're not on Binance, they're not on Kraken and so on. And they are almost like they're going into becoming a long-term holder. Okay, rather than so the more funds get accumulated into this, the less Bitcoin remain in circulation. And so with the supply being constricted, assuming that demand stays the same, the price pushes higher. And the last thing, if we're going to have a look here, so let me just adjourn this. Okay, still the same. So we're looking again here, Bitcoin realized price, or the average price paid for Bitcoins at the last time they were moved. So this in 2025 has gone up by quite a lot. It's gone from 40,000 at the moment, it's standing at 53 and a half. Okay, so that means that so that's the average price that everybody bought their Bitcoin at. Okay, so includes the people that bought it in 2010 for like $1 or $2, and the people that are buying it today at 117,000. Okay, so for each day that goes on, this number goes up because all the new purchase, all the new transactions are happening at the market price, 116, 117. So we're far away from that. This is why the price is going up. Okay, and we can use that pretty much as a approximation of where the bottom of the next bear market will be. Okay, where the bottom of the last bear market, you can see here, was about 20 in this realized price. The actual price went down to about 16. So you can take a band of about 15-20% out of that, and could approximate where the lower end of the bear market may be. Interesting that at this point here, if you take 20% off, it takes us to the price of when the ETFs launched. So basically, this chart is telling me we're not going any lower than the mid 40s when the ETFs were launched, because that is already like a 20% lower than the realized price. The other thing that's always good to look at is the NUPL. The net unrealized profit and loss. Okay, and this is the one that tells you how much overbought or oversold Bitcoin is. And the interesting thing is that I'll show you in a second how you see these different colors. So this is the value of the index, and the black line is the price. So the interesting thing, so I'll tell you in a second what all these colors mean, but the interesting thing is that as the price has gone steadily up, the excitement, kind of the greed around Bitcoin hasn't really moved much. So at the moment we are about 53%, and the real dangerous levels are above 75. So we're still quite a lot. The maximum we had in this cycle was in March 2024 at about, what was that? At about 62. So still far away from that. Let me just go on to an explanation slide. Okay, so this is the explanation for the NUPL chart. So below zero, it's called the capitulation phase, is where the majority of the holders are holding Bitcoin at a loss. Then between 0 and 25% is what is called hope and fear. We think of it, people are starting to see the same, some small profits. They start hoping that things are going to get better. Then between 25 and 50%, you go onto the optimism phase. And then between 50 and 75 is what is called the belief, is when the FOMO starts to appear. Okay, fear of missing out, and people really get excited about the market. And then we get to the euphoria phase, where we see like the silly attitude towards crypto prices getting to unheard of levels. They are not, they're not grounded in actual data. And this is normally, when we reach this point, indicates often when the market is overheated, and then it can be the start of a downtrend in price and beginning of the bear market. So at the moment, even the price has gone up and we are near all-time highs, the actually overbought level of the market is still not there. It's still very low. It's still very middle of the range. So I think we're still okay for quite a few months. Okay, so let me stop sharing. Any questions? Louise, go ahead.
I wasn't here last week, so is the issue with Java fixed? The changes to wallet codes because of a Java.
I've got no idea what you're talking about, but I'm lucky we got Jonathan here, so he knows about this a lot more than I did.
Hi, Louise.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the issue was that there was a JavaScript library that thousands of apps use, and it was infected with a virus that would harvest or swap your destination addresses from your crypto transactions. And it was fixed. It was only live for a short period of time where that could be downloaded, but it was downloaded millions of times. So it was just waiting for all the app developers to check their code, make sure that library wasn't in it. So it's hard to say definitively all clear, but there's only been like $1,000 worth of crypto stolen related to this attack. So it looks like it's been completely mitigated very rapidly, and you're safe to continue.
Thank you very much.
Bad code should still be out there, but yeah, you're fine to go ahead. I think I've certainly restarted again. So yeah.
Oh, by the way, for those of you that have, most of you have been here before, but for those of you that are new to this, Jonathan runs a session, a very practical session on on Cardano in particular. So Jonathan, please put it in the link in the chat in the chat box. And in particular, it's very, if you had any tokens in your wallet of eight different blockchains, they are entitled to midnight airdrop. You might want to ask Jonathan for some help, because unfortunately, as much as I like Cardano, the midnight portal for claims is diabolical. And I can say, if I'm struggling with it, and then a lot more people are struggling with it. Unfortunately, I have to say that because for a lot of people, that's the first time they get to interact with Cardano, and at the moment, it's not good. It's not good because the process to actually claim these tokens is not straightforward, unfortunately. And yeah, so if you still got about a couple of weeks to do it. So if you haven't done it yet and need some help, that would be the ideal place for you to get some hands-on instructions. And like I spent a couple of hours myself with another member. They has got pretty much like funds in all these coins, and eventually he's got like a treasure to like a cold wallet where most of his coins are. And honestly, it took ages, and we got to a certain point, and then there wasn't a functionality to actually finish the signature to complete the claim. In the end, he managed to realize that there was kind of like, although he was showing that the software was completely updated, there was an extra update they needed to download that gave me this opportunity to do this. So at least I know part of his claim has been done, but still I think he hasn't finished all the other the claims for all different coins, which all have different issues, and they are like fairly technical, and they're not straightforward. The solutions are not straightforward to find, unfortunately. So
yeah, it's very complicated. It's this is showing you the immaturity of the crypto space as a whole. Is that you're trying to bring together 8 different chains to do one job, just get some free tokens, but it's a mammoth undertaking. So yeah, I'm helping with that as well. So we're making progress, but yes, it is.
So guys, if you can imagine that Jonathan that is himself, very versed in programming and he does it as a job, he's still struggling with this. So don't feel stupid if you can't do it. It's kind of like it's par for the course. So this is where it's good to have somebody that can help. So yeah, I recommend you that if you want to get some free tokens, and if you have other Cardano, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Avalanche, Brave Attention Token, and what am I missing? There's a couple more. So there's 8 different 8 different tokens, they are entitled to have a free airdrop of midnight when it gets launched in about about 40 days, when the tokens will be generated and it will drop in your wallet. So there's still time to do that. So if you got any of these tokens not on an exchange but in your own wallet, then whether you do it, when you get Jonathan to help or you do it on your own, get to do it because you don't have that much time left. There's only a couple of weeks left, and you need to complete your claim before then. You can do it slightly something even later, but the majority of the entitlement it needs to be done in the next couple of weeks. All right, guys. So I will be closing the call right now, as I've got coaching calls coming straight afterwards. So I wish you a great weekend, and if you have any questions, just write them down. I can bring them up next week. Or if you can't come and you want me to cover them, then send me a message, and I'll make sure to cover it during the event. 15 days remaining from Jonathan for the midnight claim. Thanks, Jonathan. So I'll give you a few seconds more if you want to copy the claim for midnight, the claim site, or also the link for Jonathan's session that will start in a few minutes. So copy both if you can, and I am clocking off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thanks, Luca.
Have a great weekend, everyone.